so I finally managed to finish this year's Christmas LEGO MOC just before the holidays. But this Santa is a little punk, a little rebellious, and unfortunately, at the busiest time of the year, his reindeer decided to take a day off, just like I'm out. So he had to step up and deliver the gifts himself. And that's why this build is called Santa and the Day of Reindeer's Adventure. So every Christmas, I kind of have this little tradition. I always try to build something with a strong holiday vibe. If you've been following me for a while, you might remember that back in Christmas 2022, I made this motorized Santa. Looking back now, yeah, it was a bit silly. But it was also the first time I really mixed technique parts and movement into my MOCs. Before that, everything I built just sat there, very politely. That's when I fell straight into the moving MOC rabbit hole. Motors, mechanisms, things spinning, that whole era basically started there. Over the years, I have done a bunch of projects for the LEGO's official channel, but for my personal builds, I always go back to what I love the most, storytelling. And that's exactly where this one came from. From the first idea to the final build, this whole thing took me about a month. And of course, the very first thing I built was Santa himself, because making characters is always my favorite part of LEGO MOCs. I have built a lot of characters over the years. And yes, if you're noticing a pattern, I do seem to make a lot of old guys. Relax, not in a weird way. They're just way more fun to design because their features are so expressive. For this Santa, I went with a cute big head style that I really love. I spent way too much time just on the beard, using all kind of parts to get a curly, fluffy look. I even used these parts underneath to slightly cover the mouth. But my personal favorite is that little ball on his head. It's actually made from a chef's hat from minifigs. Those tiny Easter eggs, that's honestly the best part of building MOCs. For legs, I use these curved pieces because the proportions are short. He needs to stand properly and be able to bend his legs later. Because yes, he will be riding something. We will get that in a second. Alright, let's talk about the bike. I did consider a big Harley-style beast at first, but let's be honest, Santa on a mini, very I'm just here to do my job bike is way funnier. I almost never build motorbikes, and I barely even buy LEGO bike sets. But somehow this one came together surprisingly quick. In the back, you will notice I use a Technic shock absorber, but I removed the springs. And without the spring, it's way easier to connect the body to the wheels. The front was trickier, especially the mirrors. Nothing looked right, until I suddenly realized this little minifig metal detector. It just looks exactly like a side mirror, and I could still sneak in a headlight. Problem solved. To finish it off, I added a couple of rib pieces as cables, and the bike was basically done. The sleigh in the back, same industrial style as the bike. Structurally, it uses a lot of reverse stud techniques, and since your part options are pretty limited here, I mainly use these multi-stud sheet bricks. There's also a tiny Easter egg on the back, a license plate. Bonus point if you can guess which set it's from. As for the reindeer, the proportion and style are the same if you see my greenhouse MOC. Same cartoon-style animal characters approach. The hardest part was the antlers. Nothing looked right until I tried using minifig's hands. A bit Lego, but visually, surprisingly perfect. And once everything comes together, a cute Santa, a very mentally checked out holiday mode reindeer, and these tough industrial vehicles, the contrast just hit immediately. Of course, I never wanted this to be just a static display set. From the very beginning, I knew this build had to move. At first, I planned to reuse the chain system from my Sunset Racer build. But Santa, the bike, and the sleigh were just way too heavy. That setup would have been massive, kind of dumb, so I switched gears and redesigned the base with something much simpler, but way more effective. I used a wheel-driving wheel setup to create motion, which let me keep the base lower, tighter, and way cleaner. The snow base itself doesn't move, but honestly, as long as the wheels are spinning, it's already fun to watch. Now the sleigh in the back? Originally, I have zero plan to make it move at all, but near the end of the build, once I placed it on the base, I noticed there was actually a lot of empty space underneath, and that's when the bad idea started. I thought, what if the sleigh can slide back and forth a little? That way it really feels like the bike is pulling it forward. So I added a simple rotational push mechanism, a slope module in the middle, two axles connected with a small chain. And there you have it. You get this subtle forward and back motion. It's the same trick I have used before in my Space Monster chase and the mini helicarrier builds. Finally, I linked the front wheel gears to that sliding mechanism, and now when the bike will spin, The sleigh moves at the same time. The mechanisms are super simple. But once everything starts moving, the whole build just instantly comes to life. Alright, so that pretty much brings this short breakdown to the end. With this build, I wasn't trying to go super complex or show off a bunch of crazy techniques. I mainly just wanted to tell a story, one that a little ridiculous, but also kind of lovable. For me, the moving parts are just a bonus. They're there to just make this little world actually move. And if you're into a LEGO MOC that have a story and a little motion, I really hope this one gave you a few minutes of fun in the middle of the holidays. And just a quick heads up, the next video will be my 2025 yearly MOC recap. I will see you in the next one. Bye.